ladies, y'all can take notes because we about to talk about some manhood stuff. How has manhood or the idea of manhood changed for you over the past couple decades or a few decades?
Damn, that's deep.
Yeah,
That is deep. For season 2, we're gonna get deep every once in a while.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you might want to jump in this first.
No, go ahead, fam.
I got it. All right. I would say I thought about this a lot, and the thing that comes to mind, at least when I was younger, mentality was about defending my manhood. Everything that I did or would be about is demonstrating some level of, you can't do this to me. And I would say now my manhood is really defined by my ability to mend. And what I mean by that is, whether that's emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, it's really looking internally and looking at solutions as opposed to creating additional conflict. There's a lot that when I was younger, if I could go back and do differently, I probably would make some changes, although that would change who I am now. And I love who I am now. But I've learned a lot over the last, 30 years. Like, KG, you don't know it all. I don't have all the answers. I'm better when I'm with other people to make me better. We're better together than we are apart. And, manhood is about recognizing your limitations and asking for help. It's not about trying to do it all on your own and I'm big and I'm strong. Man, somebody could define it as such, but I don't see it that way. So I just, I would say defending versus mending and, the ability to ask for help at this point.
So hold on. I'll go next, but I want to be specific. Rob, what was your specific question again? Phrase the question again, please.
How has the idea, the essence, the presence, how has manhood, and that's a wide term, general term, how has that idea changed for you over the decades? Like coming out of the Bronx, what you thought manhood was versus what you think manhood is now, about to be 50.
I got you. Now, and maybe because of my chosen career path and in the field that I'm in, I think growing up in the Bronx, not having a father, learning from, we had everybody in the Bronx pretty much that I grew up with didn't have a father. There was just one dude that had a father, and he became like the mentor for us all. So I think that turned into me to now, me being an educator, I try to make sure I drop jewels to my little young males every time I talk to them. It ain't got to be no deep conversation like old boy did in the beginning of Boys in the Hood, Lawrence Fishburne. It ain't got to be that deep, but I try to drop a little jewels on them. But I learned from this new generation, you can't force nothing on them. You know what I mean? So you try to force it. You need to sit down and listen, or you need to come. Nah, it ain't like that. I just talk to them in real talk, real time, so they could see, Mr. Denton sees something in us, and we see some of us in Mr. Denton, and that just continues the conversation. So that's what I do. That's my version of manhood now. When you see the younger generation, you got to drop a little bit of jewels on it. And if they get that bond with you and they trust you and they feel like they could gravitate with you, you just keep feeding them more. You don't put too much on them, because you can't put too much on these young kids, man. They're going to either just be like, all right, forget it. Just a little bit at a time. So every time, and Rod, you've been to my school. You see how my kids rock with me. I try to drop a little bit of gems every time, and hopefully that'll make a difference. So that's how I do it. Because a lot of kids we serve don't have any. I don't want to say, yeah, they may not have a lot of male role models around them. And I'm not saying I'm a role model by far at all. But if I could drop little jewels with you and build that trust with you, and you feel confident in me, over time, all the jewels you're going to get, hopefully you be in a better place. Hopefully.
I mean, I was sitting here thinking about how to best summarize all this. And it's like when I was growing up, I had very good male role models from a provider perspective. You know what I'm saying? Men that would hold it down and had jobs and employed and all that. So I always knew that was kind of, the expectation. But I guess what is most changed for me is like recognizing, I guess, that my dad and my uncles and my stepfather and these type of men were like fully people. And so much of what they did when I was a kid and a teenager makes so much more sense to me now that I'm an adult. and I've got my own children and my own bills and my own stresses and everything like that. And I also try to keep in mind that therefore, like what my children see is that older version of me, you know what I'm saying? So I want to be as good of a example of a fully realized man. Like I never had a male role model that would be like emotional, you know what I'm saying? We didn't, like, my dad and stepfather would not tell me that they love me, that kind of stuff. It just seemed very strange, I guess you could say. And I have had to, as I've become an adult, remind myself, yo, I should tell my children that I love them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Of
wow.
course I love them. I'm sure that they know that, you know, but they want to hear it because I remember I wanted to hear that kind of stuff. It's just that, and I'm sure that my father's generation, he didn't hear it from his dad. You know, it just gets sent down. And that is definitely a change in my idea of what a man is. A man can be emotionally vulnerable and, you know, all these other wonderful things through therapy and all that. But you know what I'm saying? It's okay to do all that kind of stuff.
That's what I said too, Keltrick. I saw that face.
I'm not saying I'm going to therapy. I'm just saying it's possible.
No, never mind.
Yeah. No. We saying Neil need to go to therapy, but that's another conversation for another day.
I do.
Oh, wow. Yeah, real talk. So we're clapping because Neil has. Yeah, that's a toast. I'm drinking that too.
He's chugging.
We've been trying to tell Neil and John the benefits of pursuing therapy for growth, right? I think some people look at it as a vulnerability that is frowned upon, particularly in the Black community. But we have internalized so much trauma, and until we process that trauma and release it, you know, we can unfortunately repeat cycles, pass that stuff on to our kids, and all of us have children, and we got to figure out a way to kind of they call it fascia in terms of when you're working out, when you get those knots. We got to move beyond that fascia and address those things. So I'm really happy to hear you say that. I'm really my heart is moved because you said that, fam.
But it's just a 5-second thing, just to backdrop on what you said. The reason why back in the days, y'all, I didn't do therapy because I was under the mindset of I didn't believe anybody who doesn't know me personally can tell me about me better than me. So that was my stance back then. That's why I didn't go, because I was like, who knows me the fuck better than me? How you going? I'm gonna pay you $125 an hour and you don't know me, you just met me, but you're gonna say, Neil, do this. But you know, I'm beyond that, and yeah. So, yeah.
But Neil, that goes to that thing I was saying around.
Yeah.
That goes to what I was saying earlier around the posturing, right? So when we talked, when Ra asked the initial question, and I said defending versus mending, right? At some point, we got to figure out how to mend, how to become whole again. So, you know, I love that you said that, fam. And I know, Ra, you need to share your thoughts.
Yeah. So in terms of for me, manhood was a destination you got to, and I think this is really, really interesting. That my career now also mirrors what my present understanding of manhood is. So coming up, I was like, you do these certain things, you are a man. Like someone could ask me a question. So when did you become a man? And I could be like, oh, when this happened, when that happened, when I processed that, I'm sitting on top of manhood. And now at 50, what I understand is that
you're not 50 yet, fam. Like how you be doing me. You're not 50 yet, fam.
I'll be 50 next year.
Oh,
yes, doing it like you, and you'll be 51 next year. What I realize now is that manhood is a transcendent a destination. It moves. I will constantly be in the process of becoming a man. So, and what I refuse to do is let someone else put on me what they think manhood is, because I know that I can claim manhood today, but then 10 years from now, be sitting in a completely different situation or circumstance where today don't fit. So for me, manhood is being flexible, is being open, is being vulnerable, it's wearing not wearing my emotions on my sleeve, but not hiding. You know what I'm saying? And back in the day, I wouldn't share emotion. I wouldn't talk to people about stuff. And for me, that's what men did. They handled it on their own. And I have learned for me that don't work. And that ain't the best way to do it. So manhood is always a process of becoming a man. So that's my thoughts on it.
And then one last thing, because I just thought about what Keltrick said. Technically, I love y'all. But I will say Keltrick has always been the one. I mean, I know Ron John loved me. It's a guaranteed fact. Keltrick has always been the one to be like, dog, where you at? Like, I have this thing where I would just disappear. When I go through my own personal shit, like I just disappear. They ain't going to find me for months. Keltrick would be like, dog, I understand. I respect your space. But we love you. Just John will say the same thing. Ron said it. Just be like, yo, I'm good. So I'm learning that too. Sometimes you don't got to handle shit on your own. And sometimes, even if you felt like you got to disappear, just let your loved ones know that you good, So I appreciate y'all for that because, me, I'll disappear in my turtle shell in a minute.
Yeah. I'll add before we wrap this up, this portion up. I really try to pride myself as a friend of y'all to understand where I see y'all at. And what I mean by that is there are certain triggers and indicators that all of us kind of show before we go into something, right? And I'll use this show as an example. I know Rasheem very well. I wouldn't say the best, but I know him very well. His wife knows him the best. But I know him well enough to know when Ross getting frustrated. I know when he is having a good time and when it's time to go. And with this show, there was a point of frustration that was coming. Actually, he probably had arrived. And he was just trying to figure it out. It's just trying to maintain because he knows all of us and loves us. And I'm like, yo, man, let's talk. Let me remove some of the stress that's created because of this. With Neil, I can tell, and it's not about me. I'm talking about understanding the people that you love and who are around you. With John, when John is short, there's something that he's processing so much information in his head, and then you just got to get him to talk to you. When he talks to you, whatever he's processing, it comes out. And I was just saying this to say, if you love your friends, ask questions, be curious, understand the triggers, the things that's going on in their lives, where you can potentially be a resource to kind of help them move through that space. So that's my little PSA.
A lot of people do not have actual friends. That is what has been revealed to me. Like, I've been on social media and the internet for 20 plus years. Same around the same time that I actually met y'all. So, and if anything, it's like, yes, a lot of people do have, some actual friends or whatever the case is, but a whole lot of people do not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how you actually go about making a friend as a 45-year-old dude or whatever the case might be, but I
think people accept I'm good and that's it. I ain't that person. So you tell me that I'm asking more questions.
Right. You saw that meme on IG when it's like, if you ask a man if he's good and he's like, or if he says I'm good, it was like, yo, he's doing so fucking bad. You can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
No. If I say I'm good, leave me the hell alone. I'm good.
I'm of the opinion, like, if you can't solve my problem, and by solving my problem meaning solve that shit, don't give me more work to do, you solve it. If you can't do that, then there's very little point in me like discussing it. That said, I love the fact that, y'all are always like the kind, if I want to vent or I need to talk or whatever the case might be, that can happen or whatever the case is. It works out. But anyway, Straight No Chaser, the podcast. We are out here on Spotify and every other podcast platform.
Oh,
Apple
shit.
Podcasts, everything. So please like, share, subscribe to us, give us a follow, so on and so forth. If you like what we're doing, tell somebody about it.